What's up everyone, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be talking about the preview of two banners, Robin's banner and Gustave and Katarina banner. They were announced on Square Enix Twitch live stream, but now we have the information even on our rsrstb.com, and this is where we're going to check all these units. There are some very interesting buffs to the Robin family, so let's start with Dan. Well, Rag Robin is the name of Polka now, and he was buffed for many things. Status, passives, he got it all. He's probably the best character of the bunch, but it still depends on what you're lacking. Of course, he got a buff to STR, endurance is 90%, will in 70%, so he's a tank with not the best status, but serviceable, since he also has passive that decreases damage. He didn't suffer too much from status distribution. He can actually use his spell-based attacks if he wants, but I don't see much reason to, because he buffs STR with his first passive. Every time that he's attacked, either by direct or indirect attacks, he's going to buff his STR, just like Strumniking. And that matters a lot in long fights. And every time he gets directly attacked, he's going to counter with Robin's move. This attack is roll, buffs his will, debuffs the will from the target, and gets him into taunt. He wants to taunt in, well, he got a surprise. He is a Steel Blade user. This time it's called Phoenix because it's heat instead of sun, but it's just the same effect. It even got a decrease in the BP cost, it's now only 9, and gets him into taunt. Recover all surviving allies. He should heal on the same or very close values to Mirza. His love is a little higher, but it's not as high as Leon's, but doesn't matter too much. Should be around 800 heal for the party. That's very nice. Not just that, he's the only Steel Blade Light user now with a damage reduction passive. With high protect tension, he decreases damage by 30%. He also has the best endurance and will of them all. So he can taunt, he can take damage, and he can even heal himself with the first skill called Proeminence. That heals very small effect, should be around 150. Not only that, they also changed his second skill, it's now fast. It wasn't on JP, and debuffs STR by 20%. His intelligence may not be the highest one, but it should work in most case scenarios, and it's higher than 15% than most characters use. So he comes with AoE heal, self-heal, he can buff himself, he can nuke, he can tank. Well, he is an amazing unit, and it's the only one, I'm sure it's a triple S style of the banner. We can also talk about Jo, that is probably a candidate for triple S grade as well. She has a mechanic similar to Rolfus. The second skill called Sparkling Ice starts by using a water attack with cold and sun damage, and then she just chases with Crimson Break, another attack with triple S damage. And because it's only 9 BP, you can use it on turn 1 and again on wave 3, because, well, she gets paralyzed for 3 turns. It's just like Rolfus. It's not like Rook, that it's only 2 turns. But when farming, it's gonna work pretty well, but on boss fights, I don't know, may not be the best decision. But this Jo is now good for farming and on boss fights too. She has a chance to buff intelligence and recover on the start of a turn. She can buff herself all turns. She also has fired up 6. Skill number 1 is 0, and she can debuff intelligence, and it's actually a physical attack. Damage not so high, but she has double health for STR, it's funny. And Blazing Core was changed, now in global it's 12 VP. You can import that in the third Jo, and she can open the fight with that. It's a fast attack with double elements and a power. So for farm it's gonna be nice, but then she doesn't have a follow-up. You only use Froze Fire. This is a single target attack. On turn 3 you can use an AoE attack, but it's cheaper. But it's only for those that have the third version, or you can use this on turn 2, and it's easy to, because you can just increase the Sparkling Ice to 12, leave Blazing Core on 12, and she's going to attack only on turn 2, and nothing breaks this cycle. Well, she has very high intelligence, a guarantee to buff intelligence, in a second passive that can buff intelligence and recover with 37% chance. Yeah, pretty nice. And with the fast attack, she can use it for farming, but turn 2 farming is not as easy or useful, in my opinion. But Robin Girl may be the second triple S style. I'm still debating about that. Now we have Liz, and sadly she's the last interesting character of the banner, and may even be the last interesting character from both banners even. they just didn't have a clear design with this Robin. She is a arrow attacker. She uses bows, of course, and she has the same thing like Polka, where she gets a dexterity buff when attacked and nullifies cold damage. Polka nullifies heat, but her endurance is not so good, so she only counters direct attacks. You don't want her to be attacked with direct attacks, but if it happens, if there's an enemy with an AoE direct attack, well, it's gonna work, and she has a chance to inflict confusion. So I don't understand much about this. It's not like Polkas that had plenty of effects. You have an AoE attack that can inflict confusion, but where do you really need this? You are bringing Robin Girl probably in boss fights, so inflicting confusion in boss fights is pretty hard. Very rarely you can inflict confusion, so it has some problems. Then she can also recover and also get BP when attacking, and got high protect tension too, so she's not going to take that much damage even though her endurance is bad, but her will is good. So she tried to get dexterity, agility, intelligence, and will all in the same time, and in this case it kind of hurt her. I don't know where I'm gonna use her, since the attacks are also not that stellar. Well, the first one is Dragon Frenzy. She opens with B damage and debuffs agility and stuns here on global, and JP does not have this. And then she can debuff agility with the cheaper attack, call it Ice Arrows, and she can use it all the time because she gets BP back. So she works well on auto setups for agility buff, but where exactly do we use this now? I don't know. And then there's Assassin's Arrow plus an attack that can instant kill. It's now fast in global, and increase it to medium chance to instant kill. But Conquest rarely has any node where you can fully IQ now, so I don't know where I'm going to use this right now. But at least she has an AoE cycle, but she's dexterity based, and if you're bringing her into fight, she may be a little too fragile even with high protect tension. It will depend. Now, we will be checking the second banner, the Forneus banner. Oh, I'll be giving a full preview on that. We can talk about Gustave first. This Gustave is actually pretty interesting. He has high status, high endurance, he's defensive, he likes to play on boss fights. With RL defense, he decreases damage by 40%, and he's more focused on physical than magical, but even on magical, he does not take too much. His agility is not that bad, but could be better. He can also work well for farming. He starts the fight with 12 and gets 1 BP on the end of a turn. It's good because if he wants to skip a turn without attacking, he still gets BP to use one skill. Well, he has Healing Blade, very similar to Polka. He will also heal for very small, around 150. But his selling point right now is Vertical Blade. It's an attack with 8 BP that he can use twice in a row. Double S power, and it's like very, very useful for the future. You'll see events where the enemies are aligned in a column, and Double S power twice will mostly allow him to solo farm some stuff. Well, it can even beat the damage of Arthur in some scenarios because he keeps the 2 strong attacks instead of Arthur that opens with a strong one and then go for a cheap one. So this attack is nice and should not be well overlooked. And then there's Brave Impact. This attack here is also pretty interesting. It has fast, so he always goes first, and he buffs all surviving allies' secret technique for greatswords, making all greatsword attackers stronger. So I can say that it's similar to UDX Autos, where you will only be using this from time to time, but it does increase the damage output if you want to, well, use 3 characters and finish a boss in a single turn. So those 2 attacks are pretty unique in what makes this guy interesting. Now there is Darka. This version of Darka here is also interesting. Remind me a little of In Black because he's a critical specialist. He was buffed for status, now 115 dexterity, and agility is 100. For a character that's not a martial arts, this is insanely huge. His endurance does take a hit from that. He's not so high, will is a little better, and intelligence on 72 because he can inherit attacks that can instant kill if he actually wants. Well, the first passive gives him a dexterity buff every time that he attacks, and it's by 20%, and he also recovers VP when he lands critical attacks. He has plenty of different critical attacks, but then we talk about that later. Energize will buff his dexterity by 15% and will as well on the start of a turn and every turn. So this one is before he attacks, this one is when he attacks. So in long fights, he's going to do a lot of damage. Then he has High Lethal Tension that increases damage by 20, and he gets even more when dealing critical damage. Well, because of Forged Weapons, he's going to do a lot of damage since most of the increasing damage comes from weapons now, and status buffs from characters matters more. Now the first skill gives him critical to Human and Beastman. It's an attack with Pierce and Shadow, so double element, and ethically pretty strong for the coast. Well, it's just close to beat power with only 3. And if he lands a critical attack, he will get BP back, so this will be free, and you are getting 3 as well. Then Bloody Harvest is a column attack, just like Gustave, but this time it's double element. It's nice because of that. It's Pierce and Shadow, so it also gives critical to Human and Beastman, like in black. And again, if he hits Human or Beastman, he's going to get 3 BP. It won't happen all the time, so you have to think that this will work double times if it triggers Knockout Spirit, but if it doesn't, you can bring his UDX style if you have and use it twice in a row as well, making it always land 2 attacks with powerful damage. And the last attack is Golden Note Plus. It's just straight out damage, triple S with 68 mod, and doesn't have any type of critical. So it's more about the skill 1 and skill 2. You can cycle between them if you are getting BP back. And Darka, just like the new Gustav, will help you a lot against the real queen if you're still having difficulty, because when she summons the termites, they are aligned in a column. Well, the next one should be Katarina, and this Katarina is a debuffer, and she also buffs her own status all the time. In start of the fight, 5% STR and agility 1 BP every turn, and when she attacks, she gets 20% STR and intelligence. So she will most likely debuff any type of enemy, at least after some turns, if she fails on the first one. She does have very good STR, intelligence, and agility. Those are her focus. And the first attack, it's different. Well, it is a random attack that hits 1 or 2 times with RNG, and that buffs STR by 15%. So 1 hit, 15%, 2 hits, 30%. It's 3 BP, she even will save 1 for later. The second attack was changed from 7, it's now 6, you can use this 3 times in a row. It's an AoE attack with C power, slash, and cold that has a chance to stun. It's actually very nice for farm, we don't have that many slash and cold combos, and she works well with Leslie if you want, but okay. Then the third attack, Dark Flowing Slash, it's a triple S single target attack that debuffs STR by 30%. So you can open with this one to guarantee 30% decrease in STR, and then just cycle Hunting Slash and save BP to have enough for Dark Flowing Slash again. She will also be able to inherit that very nice attack called Swallow Reversal that increases damage by applying defense down. So, well, Katarina will work even if you don't have her past styles for sure. And the last character here is Fornews. Fornews, True Style. This one here is very interesting. He nullifies lightning damage and will counterattack with a, well, kind of weak attack, but it hits cold and lightning. He gets 5% STR and intelligence on the start of a turn and 1 BP. Well, it's not that many status, but the most important thing is the BP plus thing. And then he cycles between cold attacks and spear attacks, so he's a hybrid. That's why he gets 110% intelligence, 105 STR, but all other status are a little behind, only agility being a little higher. Again, hybrid units usually suffer from that. And he has Sprinkle. This attack here is from Cordelia. It can be used for farming, but he is not that strong by himself. And Lightning Plus is just a way to paralyze. But the change in global was for Tendrils Fury. This attack here is spell based, so you need a spear with water element, hits 3 times with deep power, and buffs his intelligence every time that he does that. So if you want him to paralyze, he's probably going to, since you buffed intelligence 3 times, then you are going to use Lightning Plus. After that, medium chance to paralyze will be very high. So cycle between this, and then on turn 3 you have again Thunderous Fury. So, an interesting paralyzer inflictor with good damage. Also remember that when you buff intelligence, you are increasing the damage, or an AoE farmer with Sprinkle. Well, that's Fornews for you. He is more a farmer than a boss specialist who work well only if the enemies attack with lightning so that he can negate, but for farming and paralyzing infliction, he also works. With that said, let's get back here. I'll be making a full review for each banner, one today, another one tomorrow, and I have to say that Joe and Polka are the main sellers from the first banner, with Polka being the better one. And on the second banner, I believe that for long-term investment, Gustave and Darka may be better. With Katarina, very close. She's a very good debuffer, but debuffs are not as important right now. There's plenty of different debuffers as well, and she faces a lot of competition. For news is not the best one in the banner for sure. But that's about it, guys. What do you think about all these characters? Please say here on the comment section. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description as well. I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye.